After owning the Mini Cooper over there for 4 years, it's now time for her to go back to the leasing company. As sad as that may be, we're kind of relieved because she is quite an expensive car, and as a second car, probably not the most ideal. If you watch my previous video up here or up here, I do a big review on what that car's like as a second family car. However, it did get me thinking, and it has had me thinking for the last 4 months, whether I should whether I should even replace the Mini, which I think we do need to do because we're a family of four and have lots of kids' trips and school runs and all the rest of it. But whether we replace it with an electric car. We've never had an electric car before, and it did get me thinking, would this be a good time to consider getting our first electric car? So in this video, I'm going to go through some of the things that I found out, some of the considerations that I certainly felt were important for making a decision on whether to go electric or not. And hopefully this will help you too as well. So welcome back to Dad Stuff. Let's get into, should you get an electric car for the first time in 2026? So first of all, why are we changing cars? Well, the Mini Cooper, obviously, as I said, is going back at the end of July because its lease has finished. And we were thinking about going down to just a single car to save a bit of money. But in truth, while we could maybe barely manage that in terms of like school trips, my wife going to work every day, clubs, all the rest of it, it only takes one occasion where one of us is ill or one of us has to stay at work late or whatever, and we're potentially stranded, not being able to pick the kids up because we only have one car, and then at that point we have to start getting taxis. So I think we do need a second car. With that said, though, it doesn't mean that the second car has to be an expensive one. And this is partly why we are considering an EV. So one of the first things that I had to consider with getting an electric car was the range. Now, this isn't our main car. We're not going to be using this to go up to Newcastle or down to Cornwall or whatever. So it's purely a second car for doing school trips, shopping runs, clubs, all this kind of stuff, as I mentioned before. So I need to work out roughly on a daily basis what is the maximum number of miles that we're going to be doing in this car to kind of determine what kind of range I need. So let's dive into the spreadsheet, which we're going to be referring to a few times in this video. Let's dive into it. So first of all, school trips. So the distance from my kids' school is 8 miles. We have to do this every 5 days, but we'll say every day. This is a daily chart here. So round trip to the school is 16 miles a day to start with. Next one is work trips. So my wife will obviously use this car mainly, and the distance just so happens as well to her work and back is also 16 miles. So we may use the car possibly in the right first thing in the morning to do the school run, but we also may use it again to do the work trips as well. Again, maybe in combination some days. Now, 2 days a week, we also take my daughter to dancing class. So that is around a 30-mile round trip. We do that twice a week. So again, we're looking at roughly, theoretically, a maximum of 92 miles of range that we're going to need on a maximum day in a week. Let's round it up to maybe 100. So not too bad, to be fair. 100 miles per day at the max that we need it. Obviously, we'll be looking to charge this up daily. So that is broadly what we're looking at for the second car. Okay, so next area of consideration is fuel, or charging it essentially. And for most people, one of the biggest questions that they'll have on their mind is, can I actually save money by going to electric versus using petrol or diesel? Well, the short answer is yes, but it depends on how you do it, on how much range you're doing per year, and whether you can charge at home. So for me, we're looking to do about 12,000 miles a year in this car. We can charge at home, which I think is really important. If you can charge up overnight on a cheaper tariff, which I'll go through in a minute, this makes a massive difference to your cost of an electric car. If you're having to charge it at a filling station or on a motorway or an expensive charge point, then the kind of cost value analysis starts to go down somewhat. But if you're able to charge this at home overnight, then this is where you can start saving some serious money. So for me, if we are looking to go with an electric car, we're going to have to change our energy provider. So we're currently with Fuse, and just to give you a few figures here. So Fuse's standing rate at the moment, for me anyway, is around 32p a day. The day rate's around 20p, and obviously the overnight rate's about 20p as well because it's the same tariff. Now, if you were to convert to Octopus Energy, which is one of the most popular electric cars, EV charging tariffs that you can get, so Octopus Intelligent Go, which is what I would probably look to go for, we can see that the standing rate is slightly higher, so we are going to be paying a little bit more over the course of a year than we are now, which we'll calculate in a minute. The day rate, though, is obviously a lot higher as well. So with Octopus Energy, the cheap tariff hours are between 11:30 and 5:30. So this is the time, obviously, when you'd be looking to charge your car. But also, as we go down this rabbit hole a little bit with electric cars, which obviously naturally leads on to other conversations around solar and batteries as well, which I will save for another video because I am looking at that as well. But it obviously means that you can start moving some of your higher energy consumption workloads to overnight. So for example, if you put the dishwasher on between maybe 6 and 10 o'clock now, you could move that till after 11:30. Obviously with a lot of dishwashers, you can schedule them now. Same with the washing machine. These two items are probably the highest energy consuming items that I have in my household, that I can see spike on the energy monitor every day. And we generally do use them most days as well. So obviously day rate is 32p, but here's the big kicker, right? It's the overnight rate, the 8p. And this is when you would charge your car, essentially. If you can charge your car on this rate every night, I think we start to see some significant savings. We can see that at the moment I'm using £35 or spending £35 on petrol every week. That's not an estimate, that is exactly what I put in every week. So on an average per month, then I am spending £151 and 67p, and over the course of a year, I'm spending £1,820. Quite a lot, and this is only for one car, mind. This is not for my second car, which I do spend more money on, around £50-60 a week. So again, we're not going to calculate those savings today, but I will make reference to them in a bit. So for an electric car, and we're going to average it off a 44 kilowatt hour battery, I think that we will need to charge this at least twice a week. Let's say we get around 140 miles out of a charge, maybe 130 miles out of the charge. Probably most days we're doing maximum of 32 miles, probably. In some cases, maybe just 16 miles. We're going to be spending £7 and 4p. Over the course of a month, we're going to be spending £30. And over the course of a year, we're going to be spending £366. Even if I double that, let's say I double that and I charge it 4 times a week, we're still only going to be spending just shy over £700. So, but let's keep with this figure. So on my calculations, per week, we're going to be saving around £27. On a monthly basis, £121, in the difference between cost of petrol and electricity. And over the course of a year, £1,453. Now, I will caveat this. This is obviously based off the existing Octopus Energy tariffs that are around at the moment, where it's 8p overnight, and obviously that could change in the future. Let's hope not, but it could change. But even if it does go up a little bit, you're still saving a significant amount of money on petrol. I mean, that is huge amounts of money on petrol. A lot of you will probably be saying in the comments, if you are commenting on this video, please do comment on this video, by the way. We're trying to grow it, trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And if you enjoy this content, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing to the channel. It really helps with the algorithm, but it also keeps me motivated to keep doing these videos, because I do appreciate everyone watching them, and obviously I love seeing your comments as well, especially on this topic. Okay, well, that's all very well, Sam, but you're just taking petrol prices into consideration there. You're not also looking at the additional costs that you would spend on the home electricity with the more expensive tariff. This is true. I worked this out, and I worked out that over the course of the year, around 4,800 kilowatts of energy, that I would be spending in the region of around £350 to maybe £400 more in normal electricity in the house compared to my existing tariff. So yes, this does deduct some of the saving off our fuel bill. However, even with that, we're still saving just over £1,000 a year in petrol. I mean, bit of a no-brainer, right? And if I look to then bring my other car into that, which also, I spend more on, I spend about £60 of petrol, 50, £60 of petrol a week on that. Potentially, the overall saving of this could be £3,000. I mean, I'm sure there's a catch somewhere, but let's keep going. Let's keep going. So, next thing to consider then with costs, obviously insurance. So, electric cars are generally, I think, although not so much maybe now, right now, but have been in the past, slightly more expensive to insure. I don't know why, but that's what I did a bit of research in this video. I looked into. For the car that I'm looking at, it costs about £353 to insure. Now, obviously, I have, I think, 10 plus years of no claims. I park it on the driveway, etc., etc. But just to compare that to the Mini, obviously the Mini is a nicer car, faster car, etc. The Mini costs about £600 to insure. So again, £353 to insure, not massively different probably to what the petrol equivalent would be. So again, pretty good costs. So the next thing you're going to consider when getting an electric car, or that's the next thing I considered, was how am I going to charge it? Well, the truth is, if you don't have somewhere where you can install a home charging box in your home, the benefit of having an electric car, in my opinion, anyway, my personal opinion, starts to reduce dramatically. Because ultimately, A, convenience, you can't just charge it overnight when you've got your car on the driveway, and B, you can't take advantage of that cheap overnight tariff that you get from a number of energy suppliers like Octopus Energy. So if you can't do those two things, you're just basically, getting a car which takes longer to charge up, and you have to go somewhere to do that, and you're actually probably paying not a lot less than you would do if you were to just use petrol or diesel. So, for me, having a home charger is really important. The next thing though is positioning where your home charger is going to be. So obviously you need to have a home charger which is near your cars. For me, this was a bit of I think dilemma. It wasn't a dilemma, but a bit of a decision point, because when I was deciding where to put my home charger, I had two options. One was the cheaper installation option, which was on the edge of the house near the electric box, which would only require the most basic installation because it's very close to the electric box and just be one 5 meter wire connecting to it. The problem with this, though, is that the cable lengths that I'd have would only just reach the charging points in the cars, and it also meant having cables running all over the driveway, which inevitably are a bit of a trip hazard, especially with two young kids. So I decided to splash out a little bit more money, put the charging box next to the garage doors, which is probably the most sensible place to put it. And this is then really easy access for both the cars, based on where we park the cars as well, to then charge them up. The next thing then you're going to look at is what charger should I get? Now, let's go to the laptop again. I am going to have a quick look this is on Heatables. The actual charger that I've got, actually the website for some reason is down this morning, which is just great. But so let's have a quick look at Heatables website on their options. Now, you're going to go down this road. There are so many different chargers that you can get out there. Each have their pros, each have their cons. Some of it that you'll decide on will be based purely off aesthetics as well. But the one that I went with, and the one that seemed to get the most consistent, highly rated reviews, is the Hypervolt Home 3 Pro. Now, I don't have this yet. I haven't got it installed. I'll do a separate video once it's installed. But I decided to go with this for a number of reasons. One, I think it looks pretty cool. You can get it in 3 different colors, I believe. I went for the gray option, but I think it looks pretty nice. The second is they do a tethered option with 10 meters of cable. Now, when you have the option around tethered or untethered, you've got to consider two things. One, the cable length that comes with the box, and obviously where how big your driveway is. And two, ultimately whether you want the ball ache of having to reattach the cable every day. When I spoke to Octopus Energy, they actually recommended I should get an untethered one to give you more flexibility. But for me personally, and from what I've read online, people mostly go with tethered just because they don't want the hassle of having to unplug the cable every day, put it back in the boot of the car, and then unpack it the next day and have to plug it in again. So going with the tethered option, and especially with Hypervolt, which offer a 10 meter option, I think is perfectly suitable for me. The other reason I went with this option is because there is a 3-year warranty included, although you can get an extended 5-year warranty, which I will do. It is also compatible with a number of intelligent tariffs, such as Octopus Intelligent Go. Now, what this actually means is instead of having to schedule your box to charge at a certain time, when the cheap rate kicks in with Octopus Intelligent Go, this charger will start automatically charging your car at that point in time. So, what's my verdict? Should I get my first electric car to replace our second car, which is currently obviously a Mini and a petrol Mini? I think on balance, yes. I think it makes absolute sense for the situation that I'm in. From a mileage perspective, we're not doing more than 100 miles per day, and maximum in the second car. And I think most electric cars nowadays can do at least if not more than that. I think because I can charge it at home and I can use a cheap off-peak tariff to allow me to save that money that otherwise I'd be spending on petrol. Again, just from looking at the spreadsheet, the savings are quite significant. And even things like insurance, another running cost, is comparable now to most petrol or diesel cars. So I think for our family, it makes complete sense. Obviously, I need to buy the car yet. I need to choose the car, which I'll save for another video. I think probably what I'm going to look at is either leasing an electric car from new or potentially buying a used one. I do know that you can get a lot of really good deals on used electric cars at the moment. So yeah, my recommendation is if you're in a similar situation, you're looking at getting into your first electric car for the first time and it's going to be your second car, I think definitely it's worth considering. I think you can save a lot of money, and I think for day-to-day usage it will be pretty convenient. And for me personally, because I get fed up of having to fill up my missus's car with petrol every week because she makes me do it, this just being able to charge it from home will it's just another added convenience. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to save another video for actually choosing the car. If this video has been helpful or useful, please like and subscribe. Please add any comments below. If you've bought an electric car recently as a second car or even as a first car, tell me what your thoughts, tell me what you've bought. I'd be interested to see what people are buying. I'm not looking to buy an expensive second car, obviously. I want it to be reasonably cheap. So definitely would like to hear from all of you on your recommendations of what I could get as my first electric car. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.